I'm Jeremy White, and timing is everything, Mr. Brian Daboll.
I'm Joe Marino, and Jeremy was right.
I'm the big O, Jerry Ostroski. The only two things you can control as an athlete are your attitude and effort. The Bills had neither on Sunday afternoon in Miami. This is the Locked On Network, and you're watching Bill Squad.
Who's ready, Bills Mafia? It's the Bills Squad. Everything Buffalo Bills, every week. Breaking down the big hits and game-changing plays the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So gear up and squad up. The Bill Squad show starts now.
Welcome in, Bills Mafia. It's the Bills Squad show. Jeremy White, Joe Marino, and the big O, Jerry Ostroski. This effectively our Miami post-game show, and boy, is there a lot to get to. We have a lot going on, including some breaking news that will, of course, be very useful to Bills fans. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So we come your way. We did not do a post-game show. Sometimes we do that on Sundays or Thursdays or Mondays. That's the normal schedule. Sometimes we have to move. So here we are for our Miami postgame, and we'll have a midweek show for you. And who knows what this team will look like by Thursday, because people are freaking out after a terrible loss to the Dolphins, blown out, embarrassed. And now the breaking news is Brian Daboll has been fired by the New York Giants, leading to an avalanche of, I'll quote Mr. Joe Marino, bring him home. So we'll get to all that, what it means, and, of course, why we are in this spot talking about this as an idea. So, gentlemen, good afternoon. A rough game against the Dolphins. And that's why, of course, like Brian Daboll is going to be a topic this week. But level of disappointment in the team and how bad it really was against Miami. Joe?
Severely. Yeah, disappointed, severely disappointed. I respect every team in the NFL. I really do. And I recognize the path for any team to beat any team. But come on now. You're the Buffalo Bills. You're 9.5-point road favorites. This team just fired their general manager. They told their locker room, hey, we don't think you're very good. We trade away Jalen Phillips. They're down starters all over the place. They got key players in injury reserve. Mike McDaniel's the butt of every joke in the National Football League. And that team smoked the Bills 30-13 after just mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. Got out coached, got out played, got out executed, got out everything. Even when you had opportunities where you felt like the Bills were going to get back into it, they just coughed up the football, bad giveaways. I mean, just an awful performance when you probably least expected. And, brings up a lot of questions. The next few games are pretty challenging. You get Tampa and then a quick turnaround to Houston on the road. And, we'll see where this looks in a couple of weeks. But I'm just severely disappointed in this football team.
Biggest thing for me was, they talk about not getting off the bus before a bad game. I don't know if this team got on the plane in Buffalo to go to the game. Just extremely disappointed in the effort, the attitude of this team. There was no energy. They were dead. I don't want to hear about heat in November in Miami. Yes, we know that's hot down there. We've been playing there for many, many, many years. I've been a part of many games down there. Yes, it's miserable. You should be prepared and ready to go. And again, it just was really disheartening for me to see this team just with no fight at all. And that is a core value of what McDermott and this team has been about throughout the years. Is they've got fight, they've got a way to get back into games. You saw that the first game of the season against Baltimore. They always battle and they claw and scratch, and didn't see any of it. And they were a flat football team. They did not execute. Miami just absolutely smoked them up front on both sides of the ball. And that was what's really was glaring to me, is that offensive line of the Bills is supposed to be the bell cow of this group. No matter if anything happens, that group will handle things and get things right. Didn't happen on Sunday. And, of course, we can talk about the D-line and some of the things there and injuries, whatever else. But you know what? We understand the issues there. And if there was a bright spot in this football game, it probably was the fact that they went into the locker room 16-0, and this defense kept them in it, because they were the side of the ball that had everybody gone. They were the side of the ball that had everybody hurt. But they found a way to fight and compete and stay in this game, and the offense just was nowhere to be found. And that's really troubling to me.
Jerry, I want to ask you, After the game, a number of players, Allen said it, Dawkins said it, they wanted it more. They played harder than us. And I'll admit, sometimes when I hear that, I think, yeah, maybe guys just say that when they lose. But then I think about it again. I think that must be really hard to actually say if you know that it's true. Like, how big of a deal is it when you hear a player flat out say that, admit that they wanted it more and they play harder than us?
Well, it's a way to it's a way to say we stunk without saying we stunk or I stunk, saying that they wanted it more than we did. And it's a way of kind of painting the picture of what I just talked about, that team had all the attitude and nothing to lose. And at 2-7 and the GM's gone and players being traded and is McDaniel coming back or not, they found a way to muster up a bunch of energy and play well. And a lot of that was because the Bills allowed them to do it. And, you can look however you want. Miami, and Joe said it, and there's a saying in the league, and we said it all the time, those guys get paid as well. I know they're 2-7, but they're professional athletes. They get paid as well. There's some talent over there. And they found a way to put a game plan together, and they did exactly what they needed to do. If you look at the Bills right now, what is the script? Stop the run the ball up the middle. They did both of them and had no answers for it. But, yeah, I mean, it's just a way of saying we weren't good. And, personally, you just might as well go ahead and say we weren't good. It's easier than, they wanted it more than we did, which to me is, man, that's ridiculous.
Joe?
No, I was just going to say it's disappointing for them to say that and for you to actually watch this game and feel like it's true. And that's a team that came out fighting, and the Bills didn't have much fight back. And, your biggest leaders are saying that. That's a big issue. And you kind of wonder, like, who are the dogs on the team? Who are they? I think I've been thinking a lot about Mac Hollins, and I don't want to overstate Mac Hollins. He's a decent depth receiver, but who's the guy on the sideline with Josh Allen right now that has the fire on that offense? Who is it? And defensively, who is it as well? I think you lost some of your most important players from that component, whether it's Michael Hoyt or Christian Benford's not available for this game. That team just didn't have a lot of fight, and that's probably more concerning than any of the results and talking about what's wrong with specific parts of the team. It's like, where was the juice? You got off the plane and thought you were supposed to win, and they still got to play a game. You got to score points and limit points if you're going to get a win. And didn't feel like the Bills were showing up for the fight that they needed to have.
How much of the lack of juice feels like Allen doesn't have the juice right now in terms of where he's throwing the ball, decisions he's making, running through people's faces, whatever it might be? Like, because, you said you want the dogs, and man, I don't know if you saw my tweet about Diggs or what Diggs did yesterday. I'm going to make this point clear. This does not mean I want them to get Diggs back. But what I saw from Diggs yesterday was a fiery pregame speech, a 4th-and-1 toe tap touchdown to end the half, a hands team play where he got lit up, and then after the game, the rookie running back Trevion Henderson credited Diggs and said, he's hard on me. And Diggs said, I'm hard on him. And I'm thinking, like, the Bills used to celebrate the idea that someone was in there being crazy, an insane person to drive them nuts, but also to make sure that they were completely and totally driven. And when he left, Mac Hollins, Joe, I think you make a point here. Mac Hollins stepped in as a different kind of guy, but a guy that could kind of provide that, be a dog. And right now, like, this offense is so often about deferring to someone else. It's always about deferring to someone else and how no one really is in charge of it because, well, we're all just here. And to me, like, man, I just felt that juxtaposition between the Patriots and some dogs and the Bills who were just kind of like asleep here.
I want to speak on that because you brought that up on your show this morning on GR, Jeremy, and I thought that was a great point. You were talking about alphas in the locker room. And I played in a time in Buffalo where we had probably too many alphas. Okay, we had more alphas than we did submissives, right? But the thing is this, what Diggs is doing now is not what he was doing in Buffalo. Okay, throwing temper tantrums on the field is not being a leader. Doing what he's doing now in New England, yes, that is leadership. All right, we had that in Buffalo. I mean, it's an uncomfortable feeling when you're in the locker room and your Hall of Fame running back calls you out, okay, or your Hall of Fame quarterback calls you out, or you're a linebacker and you get called out by Bruce Smith because you weren't in the gap you're supposed to be in. That's in the locker room. That's behind the scenes. That's not making a scene on the field. Making a scene on the field is not being a leader. It's being detrimental. Okay, what he's doing now is completely 180 from what he was doing in Buffalo. I wanted to bring that point up. But you're 100% correct. There are no alphas right now. And I don't know if this offense has completely removed the alpha from Josh Allen, but you're right. That's what I see sometimes out of this team and what I saw this weekend. A bunch of guys, on offense, 10 guys standing around with their arms crossed, looking at Josh like, okay, this is the moment. You're going to do that thing.
Yeah.
But he's staying in structure and throwing 5-yard checkdowns and things like that. And I think that's the deal. If you look at Josh, you watch him in this offense, as long as they're running the ball and they can run their play action, you can take his shots, everything's fine. It's like a guy trying to stop smoking cigarettes. He'll do that. But then all of a sudden there's a little bit of stress. You get down in the game and all of a sudden, the checkdowns there or whatever, he's like, nope, I'm going to go up in the cupboard and find my pack of Marlboros and hit one real quick. We're trying to get back downfield, right? It's like I don't want to use the term neutered, but it's wild to me how much different he looks from when he was 3 years ago or whatever to where he is now. And I'm not saying he doesn't have his mistakes, and Joe has done a great job of analyzing this film, and he'll talk about some of them in a little bit, but the lack of that hit you in the face running stuff from Josh Allen is not there, and you make a great point.
Well, I think part of the transition away from Diggs, and I do think that Diggs year 1 to year 4, where he was in Buffalo, is a really different player. And obviously we don't really know what it was, but something was up and he kind of became something different, right? We didn't get those tantrums until, later in the tenure. But there was an intentionality from this team for it to be more about Josh Allen, right? And Josh is a leader, leadership through Josh, everything. It was very obvious that anytime there was messaging, it was Josh Allen is the temperature setter. He's the thermostat for this operation. And I think that's good. But I think he needed some support along the way in terms of those alphas in the room. And, maybe Dion Dawkins is that to an extent, or Spencer Brown or Dawson Knox, but it's not as obvious. It's not as clear to me that there's people that he feels like can match his energy in his corner that take ownership in what's going on, as opposed to Josh figure it out. Remember what is the Ravens game in week 1, and I think it was Josh Palmer's first game on the team, and there was the quotes that came out where he went to Shakir or something like, he's like, hey, when do we start playing? He's like, oh, it'll happen. It comes together. It's like, no, you got to be part of that. Like you're a player on the team. Like you're part of the getting it going. And so I just worry that there's not enough dog in the room to go with Josh in terms of that fiery piece of what this offense is supposed to be.
Yeah, and we're talking here about, like, not that these are character traits, but people that are motivated. Everybody's motivated to win. Some guys love to win. Some guys hate to lose. There's a range in there. How much of the Daboll conversation is people wanting that? People know he's insane. Yeah. Maybe to a point, he gets so competitive, but he somehow managed to be that guy that'll push, but also the guy that Josh still loved. And like their relationship after he left, hugs on the sideline. I love that guy. Daboll talks about him like a son. Like, to me, there's something special there. And I don't think any Bills fan that wants Brian Daboll back in the room, somewhere in that building, in Josh's corner, I don't think a Bills fan that wants that is nuts at all. I think it makes total sense.
It's easy. I want to say this about Daboll. It's you can do that with players when on the flip side, you love them just as hard as you do when you get on them. And that's the difference. Daboll's built that relationship with Josh to where when Josh does wrong, he can get all up in Josh, because when Josh does right, his energy level loving him is the same as it is when he gets in him. He built that relationship properly. That's the part of hard coaching or tough coaching that people don't get. It's got to go both ways. You can't ride a guy, and then when he does it right in the way you want to do it, you say, oh, well, you're supposed to do it that way because you're a professional. You got to love him up the same way equally. And that's what Daboll does. Daboll's a hard, he's a hard guy, but he also loves up his players when they're doing what they're supposed to do. And that's why that relationship works. And I think that's why Josh respects him so much.
Yeah, I Jeremy, and you probably know this better than anyone based on your role with WGR. There's a lot of people that don't like Brian Daboll, and there's a lot of people that were very happy that he left. And I remember the hashtag fire Daboll stuff out there, right? It's all there. You certainly, distance will make the heart grow fonder. You kind of forget some of the stuff that frustrated you about Daboll, and that's certainly there. But I think for me, where I get interested in that is what Jerry's talking about, is that there's a relatability that he has with Josh Allen that I like the competitiveness that it brings out of him. And look, I think Brian Daboll was just probably it was probably too much for him to be a head coach. I always thought he was going to like blow a fuse on the sideline. You know, he's turning red half the time. I mean, like, just not the right temperament to be the even keeled leader of a football team. But for an offense, I think that he certainly is a very good coordinator, and the way he connects with Josh Allen is very, very meaningful to me. And in fact, you know, that's the coordinator that Josh Allen was drafted to be, you know, his understudy. And then you saw the ascension, and we remember the highs fondly, but there's issues like the run game. I didn't like a lot of that. Yeah. There was probably not enough balance, but that's kind of where I get excited, is can you strike a medium between the best of Daboll and the best of what you have right now?
I want to say this real quick too, going back to kind of that Diggs situation and everything else. True leadership, your best leaders lead in tough times. It's easy to lead when things are good.
Yeah.
And we talk about Diggs and all his leadership stuff. And yeah, well, they're also 7-2 and playing really well. Okay.
8-2, Jerry.
8-2, excuse me. And playing very well. All right. It's easy to lead then. That's not hard to do. It's when it gets tough is when the true leadership comes out. And that's one of the things we did not see when he was in Orchard Park towards the end of his tenure. So I just wanted to bring that point up as well.
We're at a strange spot. Like, the Bills are 6-3. The season's not over. Of course, they can still bounce back and be very good, and we'll see what happens. But right now, I feel like the Daboll conversation leads me to ask this question: who would make that call, and what would it say? Like, if you are McDermott and you think, all right, you know what? I need this. I need him as an offensive assistant. Bring him in, have him sit in the room with Josh, like, get Josh's head where it needs to be. Joe, when you look at the way that Allen is playing, you know, you're going through the All-22. I think a lot of Bills fans, when they hear your breakdowns, would hear you say, 17's not been perfect here. He's not been right. Not comfortable. Granted, it's somebody else's offense. Could there be a benefit to bringing in a trusted person, even if it's just to smack him? You're like, what are you doing? Go take the game by the throat, man. What happened to you? Someone that can say that to him, that isn't afraid to challenge him the way that I think that Daboll might be willing to challenge him.
I think what's tricky about that is the right now piece, like the idea of him coming in as a senior offensive assistant to maybe do exactly what you're talking about. You know, everyone would need to be aligned for that being the path forward, because then I think you get ego and pride of ownership in the way. And
politics.
It's
so much.
Very, 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 very messy. I think the easy thing is, okay, the season plays out, Joe Brady takes one of these big college jobs, and then you have a vacancy and you hire Daboll. I think that's your cleanest opportunity to do it. But I would get nervous about the right now if that goes on and how it all comes together and what it means. I don't know that that's your ticket to improving things. It sounds appealing, and if everyone was on the same page, but that would be a very contrasting situation, and I would be nervous about that if it happened in season.
But this is the thing that bothers me about this. As Bills, we always want to go back to the past. I mean, the way we do things here, we complain about it, it leaves, and then we want it to come back. It's like a Real Housewives of Orchard Park reunion show around here all the time. You know, we get rid of this, and then we want it back, and then it's like at some point in time, you want to be progressive and you want to do things different. I mean, bring some fresh blood in at some point. You know, I can't remember the name of the guy that you talk about all the time, Joe, as far as OC, who would make the most sense. What's his name? The quarterback.
Davis Webb, maybe?
Yeah, Davis Webb.
Davis Webb.
It's like, why not go to Davis Webb? Why do we want to bring Daboll back when we remember all the hashtag fire Dabolls and everything else? I understand what Daboll brings to the situation, and he left because he got a head coaching job. But there is history, and we always constantly want to cling on to the past. If we're clamoring for progression, I don't understand why we always are going back to the history.
Well, I might say, like, right now, I think that's happening because the other, like, your only options to save things now are Gabe Davis. Somebody suggested Odell Beckham Jr., Amari Cooper. Like, you're going to retired receivers or practice squads or Deontay Johnson or Brian Daboll.
Can we just get Kincaid and Palmer healthy at the same time?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know.
And replace Keon Coleman.
Right.
Like Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore are not like bottom of the barrel receivers. I'm not saying that they're ones or even twos, but they're at least threes. These are guys that have caught like 60 passes in a season before in the NFL. I think it's as simple as, can you get those two guys healthy and stop playing Keon Coleman for 70% of the snaps?
Right. We got stuff to make a cake and no eggs. I mean, it doesn't matter who you bring in and who whatever. Let's get some guys back and then make decisions. But man.
Yeah, I know. The Kincaid injury, though, like if Palmer comes back and Kincaid misses like 2 to 4 weeks-ish, I mean, I don't know. We don't have a timeline on him yet. Maybe we'll find out through the course of this show. I think they could be better. But here I've got a 60-catch guy in Moore and a, 40 to 50-catch guy in Samuel. And I see Curtis Samuel for the first time in a game trying to recover a fumble. Like, I don't even know if he's dressed. It's like, oh, there he is. He's chasing after James Cook's fumble. These guys are not a part of their offense. And anyway, the whole thing is, I think, driving a lot of people nuts. All right. You want somebody new? We'll talk about this on the other side. How about Jalen Waddle? Boy, that seemed like maybe a good idea. How about it? Sounds like it was close. All right. If you're on the stream with us, if you're watching live, welcome. We do this, twice a week. We'll be back on Thursday too. So a midweek show, a post-game show. This is post-game Miami, and it's a little bit bigger picture than that, but we're ready for it. So drop us a like, a subscribe, give us a comment, and we'll talk about the Waddle deal that wasn't, and a bit more, of course, on that Dolphins game, because this is the Dolphins kind of post-game version. So, Bill Squad Show returns with the Waddle details next.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs. With features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance, you can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go, while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So, let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Back here on the Bill Squad Show. Give us a like and a subscribe, and drop a comment as well. We get to comments and questions later in the show. I'm making some little stars next to ones we're going to get to. Jeremy White with Joe Marino of the Locked On Bills podcast, and the Big O, Jerry Ostroski, here talking about the Bills and Dolphins game. And before the game, we found out that there was maybe a trade to be had between the Bills and the Dolphins. And then in a hilarious twist of the knife, Jalen Waddle then torched the Bills down the field on a vintage kind of Jalen Waddle play. So, guys, how did you react to that news that the Bills were after both Waddle and or Quinnen Williams, but couldn't get it done because in the division, those teams elected not to move the players? The report from Tom Pelissero was it was a first and a third for Waddle, and that the Dolphins wanted the first to be in 2026, and the Bills wanted the first to be in 2027. So a first and a third was agreed upon, and it broke down over what year the first would be. To me, that's tough swallow. That's tough pill to swallow on that kind of breakdown.
It's embarrassing. And obviously the Bills were very intentional about this information coming out on Sunday morning. Brandon Beane trying to control the narrative. It's certainly something he's done a lot over the last few years. And to me, it just made it look worse, where the hang up was a 2026 versus a 2027 first round pick. Like, if you were willing to do it, just do it. And ultimately, this needs to be serious. We're talking about Josh Allen in his prime and being able to secure like a number one receiver for him. How is that not like, yeah, we'll do that? Oh, it's just a matter of 26 versus 27. Just do it. It's absolutely insane to me that they would want that information out there, especially it being such a trivial matter of a 26 versus a 2027 first round pick. This is serious stuff, and it doesn't sound like Beane's taking it serious enough, because he should have pulled the trigger on the deal.
I've said it many times. If you're going to make a trade, especially interdivision at the trade deadline, you're going to have to give up a little bit of something you don't want to get that done. And if all they had to do was switch the year of the first round pick, that's insane to me.
Insane.
And then to validate it, we turn the TV on and watch him do what he does and know that from one year to the next was the only difference. I'm surprised they wanted that out. If that's how it got out.
Right, it doesn't make sense.
I'm shocked that they would want that out because it makes it seem just that much more ridiculous that it did not get done.
Jeremy, I got to ask you a question. In April, you had a conversation with the man. He said it was ridiculous to be bitching about receivers. He said it's the dumbest argument he's ever heard. And now it's out there that we didn't get to week 11 and the man tried to trade a first-round pick for a wide receiver. How do you feel?
Well, I feel like I felt that day, which was, I don't know why he won't just admit that he really wants one. I could never believe I've broken it down a million times, but it was the number one position they had in for visits at the draft. He wanted one. His coaching staff wanted one. I've been told multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
The coaches wanted one. The franchise wanted one. How I feel, whatever. Like the GM can come on and saber rattle like he does sometimes. Like you said, control the narrative, like whatever. The Bills are pretty good at making it sound like everything that happens is something that they wanted to happen. And that's what really changed this deadline. He was kind of just admitting that it didn't get done. And some said to me, careful, like, is he just kind of placating everyone, making everyone feel better? Like, I tried and I couldn't get it done. But Jerry, you're right. Those details, when the news came out, it's very convenient. It was the Jets and the Dolphins, and they said, no, let me make it look like I couldn't have done anything more.
Right.
And the price comes out, and I feel like the overwhelming reaction is, that's that. So I don't know, Joe, like you ask me how I feel, but I've been the guy that's, people made this 3D wide receiver train thing for me because I thought the whole thing has been a lie the whole time. Everybody eats to me felt like a marketing slogan, and it's fun to buy in when it works. But, people try to tell me they don't want a number one because that's worse. And I would think, what other franchise operates like this? What other franchise, like him saying that Allen won the MVP without a number one receiver? Who has ever cared about that before? Why did they make their entire existence about fighting this position when it was so obvious that they needed? So the whole thing was very odd from start to finish. And now to have tried to trade a first-round pick for Jalen Waddle, like that would have been a good, I guess, panic move that might have worked. And instead, you're kind of right where you were, and you admitted that you wanted it. The whole thing is just wild.
And think about this. Think about this. If Pelissaro was correct, and that was the hang-up, what does that do to your locker room? What does that do to your quarterback that now sits there saying, I could have had Jalen Waddle. We watch him twice a year now. Every year we see him twice a year in Miami doing Jalen Waddle things. And we could have had him on this Bills roster if we just flipped a first-round pick. What does that do for the team and the psyche of your quarterback as well? You got to look at that.
What did Sean McDermott say yesterday when he was asked about the passing game? He said, we have a great quarterback. We should be able to move the ball through the air. To me, that was him saying he wanted the trade.
Yeah.
And I think we need to acknowledge, like, zoom out for just a second. This has been a Bills team that's been close for a number of years. We'd be lying to ourselves if we didn't acknowledge that there has to be some competitive tension between Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, where I'm sure Brandon Beane thinks he's delivered the roster, and I think Sean McDermott probably thinks he hasn't. And Brandon Beane wants to point to maybe some coaching decisions. The defense last year wasn't good enough, and they had the NFL MVP at quarterback. Wanted to make sure everybody knew that every opportunity he could. And so I do wonder a little bit about, what that relationship's like and what type of tension exists. And Sean was asked, he's like, do you think this is a championship roster? What'd he say? Yeah. I love the players in the locker room.
Yeah. I love
Come on,
players.
Man. It's pretty obvious to me that there's probably tension from Allen and McDermott towards Beane for some of his shortcomings on what he's delivered.
Let me put a hypothetical out there for you two guys to think about. And we talked about there's obvious probably tension between the two. Is this Beane's way of passive aggressively sticking it to his head coach because maybe Sean was the one that was like, we've got to get rid of Diggs. He's a detriment to the locker room. He's a detriment on the field. He's doing all this. So Beane brings Diggs in. Then they jettison him off because of maybe something that Sean wanted. And now this is Beane's way of passive, really aggressive, getting back at McDermott for making that Diggs move in the first place. I mean, I'm not saying that's what happened.
Yeah, I can't dismiss the idea.
That's how these two kind of roll. It seems like there's no clear You know, we never see Clark Kent and Superman in the building at the same time, right?
Right. They it's worth noting, once you see it, you kind of don't unsee it. They're almost always separate. They're almost always delivering different messages. You know, Beane's on McAfee and McDermott's over on this show, and they've got their own kind of individual messages. And if you think about the things that Beane has said, right, the Bills kind of they like to avoid bulletin board material. In that April interview with me about the receiver, he kept saying, it's the defense, it's the defense, it's the defense. Yeah. And then he said, and we fixed that. Which, I mean, it clearly looks like it's still got some problems. Injuries are a big factor there. But when you say it's the defense, it's the defense, it's the defense, how do you feel like your head coach feels about that? It reflects pretty negatively on him
100%.
For that. And then, do you think this is a championship roster? Yes. I know what that's like. I've been around them before. If I'm the coach, like, you said what? You said a team that's only been to the AFC Championship game is a championship roster? So you're saying that if we don't get there, that it's the coach's fault? Like, you know, it's almost internal bulletin board material. And if people in the chat here think we're stirring it up, I get it. It sounds pretty soap opera-y. But when you're asked as the coach, is this a championship roster? If you say yes, they're going to say, well, how come they're not winning the title? Must be your fault. Must be your coach's fault.
But don't say people are trying to stir it up. We're trying to define the issues and define the problems. It's the same thing that the fan base wants as well. There's no stirring it up. You got to look at the entire situation, and it's part of it. And you're not happy just like nobody else is happy. So wherein lies the issue? And you got to look at all avenues, not just simply we got to get a receiver and run it downfield. It doesn't, you know.
McDermott was also asked before the trade deadline, you know, what's your role? What's your role here with the trade deadline? And what does Sean McDermott say? He says, you know, I communicate with Brandon where I think the roster is at, and it's his stage. It's his stage. Come on, it's right. It's right there, guys. It's right. It's right there. I don't know about that relationship right now. And look, I think it should be that way. Maybe it's a problem or not, but you've been this close. There should be competitive tension. I mean, we've heard Jerry say it. He's like, you want to feel tension going to any NFL building, right? Like it's pressure. The second you walk in, I'm sure it's pretty magnified when you've been this close and you're trying to get over the hump and, you know, trying to figure out the reasons why you haven't been able to do it.
One loss to Miami and everything's going crazy.
Well, let me no, that's, I think it's a good point. I have had some good conversations with people in the Discord channel. And, you know, somebody said, you know, look, it's one loss to Miami. It's like, I hear you, but I also don't, because it's just like going back to the 4-0 start. You knew there were issues, but they won and they got through it. And then they had their two stinkers against the Falcons and the Patriots. They come out of the bye. They beat the Panthers and the Chiefs. Then they get smoked by the Dolphins. And you take this next 4-game sample and you're like, well, in 3 of the 4 games, the passing game looked completely unsettled. The run defense has been bad the whole time. Injuries are piling up. And so, yeah, it's one loss to the Dolphins. They're 6-3. The season isn't over. But the stink on the team that continues to manifest itself allows you to say, yeah, I'd be very surprised if this was the Bills team that was the one that got over the hump. And so, yeah, I think it just brings the stink back on the things that concern you through some of these wins. The wins have kind of masked some of these issues. And look, they go out and beat Tampa and Houston the next 2. We'll probably be right back in, but that's not where we're at right now.
How do you guys feel about Allen's post games as a leader, not only of a team, but of a passionate fan base? 2 minutes. I got to get better. I got to be better. I got to be better. And then the only thing that jumps out from his post game in this game with Miami was when asked about Keon Coleman doing the most with his opportunities. And he said, I mean, he said, I mean, got one today. So do you take anything from that? I mean, it is the day where Coleman ends up making a big play for them. I know I don't know about a lightning rod, but whatever. He's under the microscope. He makes a big play. Is Allen communicating anything there with that pause in that comment, you think?
I think that I don't have to look at Josh Allen's post-game interviews. I just watch him on the sideline. And he's not happy, he's not right. I watch him on the sideline, I watch him on the bench, I watch his looks, I look at his body language, you know, picking that iPad up, putting it down, picking it up, putting it down. I mean, he's searching hard for something, and he's trying to do his part, but it's just not there. And, you know, he's going to say what he says in the post game. He's not a throw guys under the bus dude. That's not what he does. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Peyton Manning. He's not going to say some of the things those guys have in the past about teammates. That's not how he leads. It's not how he rolls. but you can see him on the sidelines and the looks he gives and things. I don't want to say completely lost, but he's definitely searching for something that hasn't been found right now.
You know how many players have to get hurt for Ethan Bonner to get on the field for the Miami Dolphins at corner for Keon Coleman to be able to beat him on that deep shot? I will say this, though. On two of the other shots that Josh took to Keon Coleman, I thought he had a bad ball. The one that got tipped, I mean, he underthrew it severely. And then on the other, Keon held the red line and Josh Allen threw it out of bounds when the leverage of the route was on the inside. So I think Josh had a couple of missed opportunities to get Keon the ball down the field. Now, certainly Keon's got his own issues with a couple of other throws where I didn't love the way that he addressed the football in the air. But ultimately, it's not been an efficient or consistent relationship between Josh and Keon. And I can't believe what the Bills have asked of Keon Coleman. I can't believe what they've asked of him as a guy that's new to football that they've acknowledged. You know, from day one, this guy pretty much playing 70+% of snaps for this football team, getting meaningful targets. And it's not fair to him. And I take a lot of exception with Keon Coleman and his skill set, but it's also, it's not been earned. It doesn't make any sense to me, but the Bills are certainly still trying to justify that player. And my goodness, it's hurting this offense.
It's the Bills Squad show. Bills lose to Miami. This is our Miami post game to a degree. We got to talk about this run defense, and I know we got to have a conversation with the linebackers, which has been a consistent thread here. So we'll do that. We'll get your calls in, your comments in. We'll get your calls in. Got some comments to get to. Drop a like, a subscribe, all that good stuff. And you got a question for Joe, for Jerry, for me, drop it in the comments, and we'll get to those as we close out here, as we roll along. Up next, the defensive performance, some good, and then plenty of bad against Miami. It's coming up next here on the Bill Squad show. This episode of Bill Squad is brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, there's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier. But now the average company is buried by thousands of apps, hundreds of apps that slow down your teams, and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's SAD, software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software created. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically, even perfectly in sync. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. The Locked On Bills show here, the Bills Squad version of that. Of course, you find us where you find all of your Locked On Bills content, and the Locked On Sports Network, the #1 podcast sports network in the world. How about that? So thanks for being a part of this, of course. Make Joe part of your listen every day, in the mornings, afternoons, whenever you do. That's the nice thing about the podcasts. All right, guys. So defense, and they got creased for big runs again. I feel like I want to use the word creased because – Joe, that's the word I hear you saying all the time, that they're just getting absolutely worked on these big runs. Achane gets to the second level again and again. He had 111 yards after contact. So the defense, they bent a few times, and then by the time it was the fourth quarter, it was just it was lights out from there. So what did you see on the tape, and what's going on with the defense?
You're Joe.
I got to do that once a show, guys. It's part of, I got to hit my quota there. Like Jerry said earlier, I do give the defense a lot of credit. They kept them in this game, and they were put in tough situations over and over again. Obviously, the Bills with 3 big giveaways, putting their defense in bad spots. And then, I am sensitive to hey, I don't want to blame the Heat for anything like that. But the fact that it is a warm day and the Bills respond offensively to 2 of Miami's first half scores with 3 and outs, putting your defense right back on the field. When you're down Landon Jackson, you've got 3 defensive ends. One of them's only got one hand. You got one of your defensive tackles trying to play defensive end, and you got 2 practice squad caliber players in your defensive tackle rotation. Come on. It wasn't good to put those guys right back on the field, not to mention, you're down starting corner, you're down your starting slot, you're down some guys. So putting those guys right back on the field in some tough spots was not ideal for the circumstances of the Heat. But, obviously they gave it up in the fourth quarter. They gave up some explosive plays, obviously the early touchdown to Waddle, but the two runs by Achane late, just what this run defense is. They got defensive tackles that get blown off the ball and displaced, and you got linebackers that are very poor at playing downhill in Bernard and Milano, and it's a bad recipe for being consistent against the run, and it just continues to prove that this is a game script dependent defense. If other teams can stay two-dimensional the entire time, well, they're going to have a tough time. The Bills have to be able to get leads and then, tee off against the pass. And that's what brings me back to that 4th and 1 call by Sean McDermott to punt on that opening series. And then you had your other failed short yardage play with your tush-push counter. I think the Bills did their defense a major disservice in this football game and certainly felt like they played well enough to win, but obviously the levee broke there late in the game.
You look at that Bills defense against the run, like Joe talked about, extremely deficient inside at D tackle. And I give the linebackers a little bit of grace because I look at the way this defense is kind of like you got a building, right? And it's got specific doors of entry. And that's kind of how run defense is. You got to be, as a defensive tackle, you play your gap, which means that other linebacker has got that gap, and it simplifies things and they see it. The Bills inside right now, it's like you take that same building, you drop a bomb on it, and now there are multiple entry points. And when that defensive line's getting blown out of there, now the linebackers just don't have reads. They don't know where to fit. So a lot of times you're guessing. And so I give them a little bit of grace because of some of that, but still they're not very willing to get downhill and stick their face in there. And then a lot of the big runs by opposing teams, our defensive ends do a very good job of setting the run, and we tend to play the run pretty well on the perimeter right now. But when you get a running back that gets through the middle and he's 2 to 3 yards downfield, and then he can cut it back outside behind that containment, now those guys are non-existent because they're over there playing contain and doing their job. So it's tough right now to stop the run on a consistent basis without stunning and doing some things, which then you're guessing, which when you guess wrong makes it even worse. So it's kind of like, lesser of two evils.
So looking at this, just looking at some breaking news here from the Bengals, just to file this away. Joe Burrow's timeline, his updated timeline, looks like he'll be back by Thanksgiving-ish, and that is well before when the Bills would play the Bengals. That is December 7th. So maybe targeting Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving night, it's Bengals and Ravens, and Joe Burrow could come back. Who knows what they're going to do with that, though? Like, should you even bother if your season is completely shredded by then? I don't know. But maybe Joe Burrow could come back and play the Bills.
I hear you on that, but the Steelers are absolutely collapsing right before our eyes, and the Ravens are 4-5, and I certainly think they're going to get right back into it. But if you're Cincinnati at 3-6, you got 2 to play against Baltimore.
Yeah,
I'm sure they want to empty the tank. I mean, they kept Hendrickson. Like, you better do something with this season. Maybe it'll come up empty, but I'm sure Bengals are pretty excited about their chance to make some noise here.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Other things from this game, like guys that stood out. Cole Bishop, another nice play, another couple of nice plays. Max Harrison. I know we got, cooked on the one Waddle play, but that's going to happen. You're a young corner, right? Like it's going to happen. I'm not going to worry about that. I continue to think he brings an element to their defense. Like, I've got 2 nice pieces there, it appears, in their young secondary.
I have no problem with Max Harrison and giving up those plays like that. I mean, that's part of the learning process. You don't know where the edge is until you go over it. And now he knows where the edge is, and he's learned from it. And he had some great plays as well. It wasn't like he was, completely lost. I liked what I saw out of Harrison, and Bishop gets better and better and better. It's obvious that he's figuring things out, playing much more aggressively. But again, until we get some players back on that side of the ball, woof. I mean, it's dangling by a string.
Cam Lewis, I thought, was a bright spot for the defense as well. He certainly missed the one tackle in the hole, but overall, I think his compete when he's in coverage and even a lot of his run fits have been really, really strong. And so I think that was another bright spot if we're searching for those.
Yeah. Searching for bright spots. The Dolphins win. The Dolphins, they've got their bragging rights for a little while here. Meanwhile, they fire their GM, their coach that's, like you said, Joe, like the butt of jokes around here. The reputation of the Dolphins is they never beat good teams. Can this be just a Bills blip and they get it back? How is for that, how is Tampa as an opponent? Feels like a big boy test. Like Tampa, they can rip the ball all over the field. And if you are down the number of defensive backs that you've been down, if Christian Benford is unavailable, if you've got a skeleton squad defensive end group because Landon Jackson is now hurt and out, so Epenesa's got to come out of concussion protocol. Like I feel like Tampa could put up some points, and you're gonna have to try and keep up.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what players Tampa gets back. Evans, Godwin, Bucky Irving, players that have kind of been out of the lineup. They just had their bye. They came back against New England, but it's a potent team. They're a pressure-oriented defense, and one of the big takeaways that I had from watching the All-22 of Miami against Buffalo is their sim pressure stuff just wrecked the Bills, wrecked them. And, I mean, Todd Bowles is a good game planner on the defensive side of the football. He's a pressure-oriented guy. I'm curious to see what type of wrinkles they have because they got some dudes from depth that can go and play forward. Winfield's awesome. They've got a good young slot corner and Jacob Parrish. They got he's a problem. So I'm curious to see what they have cooked up for this Bills offense where I think we can't overlook like the protection issues, not necessarily that guys are getting cooked one-on-one, but how they're rushing the pocket, how it's affecting Josh Allen's process, whether he's bailing, whether he's turning down some stuff. It's been at the core of some of the issues, and I think Tampa could stress some of that.
And the thing that concerns me about Tampa is they will come in and play physical. They will hit you in the face, and they will get after you. And they kind of play from the same image of their quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. Their quarterback's playing in a certain way, and that team kind of mirrors what Baker is. That's how they play. They're tough, physical, downhill football team, and that concerns me probably more than anything.
To that point, like maybe Josh gets up because he's playing against Baker, and Baker is a dog, right? And Joe, you mentioned turn downs a lot, and I want to ask you about this. Might be tough to ask, but not that you've charted this. Has Allen turned down scrambles? Like when he's rolling out this year, we've seen him roll out and then turn back a couple times, which is like, a rookie year quarterback, second year quarterback trying to make something happen. Is he turning down, hey, there's 7 yards and a corner to run through? Because we've seen Josh do that. Like, could we be watching Allen in a bit of a preservation mode right now?
I think this goes back to there's been more attention on Josh in the pocket than we've ever seen. And I think it stems from they just don't have players that you're concerned about out there at receiver. And they're willing to put more eyes in the backfield and they're willing to trigger and play forward a little bit more. And so I think other teams have done as good of a job as I've ever seen of keeping Josh in the pocket. And I think that's leading to some variance with his escapability. And then, how many times we see Josh Allen like take off and something good's about to happen. And now you're like, I have no idea. It's probably not going to be good. So I think it's a systemic issue that stems from, hey, you don't have receivers that people are afraid of. Right. More attention on Josh. It's a lot harder for him to do the cool stuff under pressure.
And even the 2 big plays he had yesterday on the scramble, those weren't classic Josh Allen scrambles. Those were like panic, just
desperation.
Yeah, just fire sale type stuff. I mean, desperation and made a play. So yeah, I mean, even those didn't look like they normally do, but it all stems from the fact that nobody has to worry about coverage, and until they do, you're going to get the same thing over and over again.
In charting the game, watching the L22, nobody gets open. That can be an overstatement, right? We all see someone screenshot a play and like, oh, look, here's Keon Coleman 3 yards downfield. I was told he's not getting open. So when we're saying no one's getting open, you mean past what teams are willing to just give you, right?
Well, certainly. There's free access, certainly sometimes where, teams are going to give you some cushion, but I charted it. So I've done the All-22 offensively. The Bills had 12 incompletions. They had 3 sacks. The way that I would say the failure on those plays, I have 4 times nobody was open, 3 Josh Allen turned down an open player, once just not on the same page as a receiver. You had 2 drops, you had 2 inaccurate throws, and you had 3 protection fails. So it's everybody wants to say whatever the thing is that they think is most important. It's a lot of things that contribute all at once. But I think ultimately, when you have that many different ways to point the finger, it's just like you're just not a settled operation, right? It's your quarterback's not settled. He said openly he is not trusting what he's seeing, and I think that's leading to the collective issues. And so, there's a lot of places you could point fingers.
My biggest issue was the inability to run the football. I don't think we adjusted very well. When we went to some gap scheme stuff, we ran the ball pretty well in gap scheme stuff. One thing I think Miami did very, very good is they watched Carolina. They watched some other games where you had linebackers and defensive secondary people over pursue. They did a really good job because Buffalo likes to do that, all wash down inside, get the over pursue, pin it, and hit the cutback. I thought those second-level guys, especially the linebackers, they didn't bite. Yeah. They stayed almost directly behind the defensive linemen and just kind of hovered. And when they finally showed themselves, they played off of it late and were able to make plays. And it wasn't like there was 5 guys there. It was usually 1 or 2 coming free. I'd have liked to have seen the Bills run more true blue double team stuff where they were duoing, where they were taking 1-2 to clean that up. But they took away that wash down outside zone with the way they kind of hovered those backers. Did a really good job with their scheme defensively, and we just didn't have any adjustment for it.
Jordan Brooks, good player. Their middle linebacker, number 20. He's a baller. There's no doubt.
I thought they were going to trade him. Like, they moved his money, and it was immediately a thought that he might be on the move, but that didn't happen. So they keep him. They keep Waddle. They keep – who else did they keep that they could have moved? A couple of big names
Chubb.
there. Chubb.
Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Who was going to go to Dallas, but Quinnen, they traded for Quinnen. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. All right. When we return, we'll get some of your comments, your questions. I've got some star. Drop a new comment in there. Get to the front of the line. We'll get as many in as we can. Jeremy White, Joe Marino, and the Big O, Jerry Ostroski, here on the Bill Squad Show. This episode of Bill Squad is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is offering something for new customers, and the NBA is back. And as an NBA fan, if you missed the start of a game and want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets, everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. No better place to bet the action of the NBA than FanDuel. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, time for comments and questions. We will bring them along here and see what members of the Mafia, the sorted commenters here on our YouTube stream, bring to us. Again, if you're listening on the podcast, that's great too. You can, leave a comment, leave a review, 5-star review for Joe and the Locked On channel, of course, Locked On Bills. But let's get to some comments here. And I like this one off the bat. We're going to get this from James. If not for 3 momentum-crushing turnovers, would the conversation be different today? I realize we have issues. And I think the answer to that question is, the conversation would be the same, but the outcome would have been different. I thought they were going to win this game right up until Allen fumbled on the tush-push quarterback run. I always think they're going to win these games. He throws an interception in the end zone. It was shocking, but Miami was begging to get beat even while they were beating you. It's a bad football team. And yeah. I know, like, we're always going to point to turnovers this, turnovers that. They were down 13-0 when they were winning the turnover battle. So, like, I think they absolutely could have won that game, maybe should have won that game, and then we'd be in a special kind of pickle because we'd be sitting here yelling about their offensive issues, and people would say, but they're 7-4. So I do think the conversation ultimately is the same without those turnovers, but the record is different.
That's 3 times you've had those momentum crushing turnovers and lost football games. So we got a trend here.
Yeah.
I hear you. I had the same thought. It's like, man, they've squandered their best opportunities to score and they're only down by this. It's like, well, it speaks to the overall issue. You can't do that. Those plays happen and they were backbreaking, and you can't do it. You can't do it and expect to win.
And you can't do it with your best players either.
No, yeah. Josh Allen and James Cook.
The other thing about, so the drive where Allen throws the pick, am I alone here, guys, in getting frustrated at how much time some of these drives take? That's a 9-minute drive.
Oh, I was dying the whole time,
in the second half. Like, let's say that doesn't get picked off. Now it's 4th and 5. And if you don't score there, I'm just killing clock for the Dolphins.
Yeah. I don't tweet a lot during games, but I felt inspired to say something there. I was like, wow, the Bills are down 16. They had a drive that took 9 minutes and have no points. Like, that's
especially with a head coach and a team that utilizes analytics the way they do and understands the value of possessions. Your own team is your biggest enemy as far as killing the clock and keeping you from possessions.
On that interception, though, if we could talk about it for a second, I've had a chance to review it, and really, I thought it was a good play call. They got Tyrell Shavers loose on an in cut, but he couldn't beat press coverage. So Jack Jones jams him at the line, which throws off the timing of the play. Josh Allen's not able to get the ball out as quickly as he can. They rush 7. The Bills have 6 to protect. And so eventually, it kind of closes in and Josh can't get the ball, get enough on the ball. And so he wasn't even targeting Dawson Knox. He was targeting Tyrell Shavers, who was open, but because he got pressed and washed wide, he didn't get to his spot on time and the pressure got there and he wasn't able to get enough on the throw.
More comments here. We'll get to the next one here. This one is going to be from another James. Do you think there's any chance we do up-tempo offense? They tried to do some tempo in this game.
Yeah. Did you love it? It was on the first drive. They were in a 3rd and 2, and they ran the ball with James Cook and didn't get the first down. So I think that's the challenge, is you do that stuff and then it doesn't work. And now the next thing you know, you're putting your defense right back on the field. So I think if you're going to do that, you got to have better play calls in the moment. And Josh even told you, he's like, yeah, I could have got us into a better play and rushed it and didn't happen.
Yeah, I think up tempo though is a key to those guys. They need to be tempo. I like them. I like our offense in a tempo situation more than not.
Another one here from Patrick. This is the worst Patriots team. Wait till we get more players in next offseason. There might be a Patriots fan, crashing our board here, which is, that's fine. That is one thing I think about here. There's peaking at the right time. And the Bills, let's be honest, they're not peaking right now. Maybe New England is peaking. They have a big, long win streak to their credit, and that's all well and good. But, I wonder about what the next stage of New England is. They're just starting this thing.
Yeah.
And already it looks really, really strong. They are as likely to get the 1 seed as anybody right now.
And they had to pay the bad team tax this offseason to get players to come there. And I don't think they're going to have to do that anymore. So, yeah, they should be excited. They got a great young quarterback on a rookie deal. They got plenty of resources in terms of draft picks and cap space. And, they look – future's bright. We'll see what the Bills can do about it.
And that's a big part of it. How soon until they go ahead and give him the contract that he's going to deserve and makes him the highest paid quarterback in the league? And then does that put the brakes on?
It won't matter for like a while. You can only get an extension after year 3. They're going to tack it on to the end of the 5th-year option. Like the cap hits for Drake May that are big and meaningful are still 4 years away.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. More comments here and more questions. You can throw them our way here in the chat. Why has no one mentioned not getting the challenge flag out on time? They didn't rush to the line. It was a big play. It's a big play. And if they get that challenge flag out, maybe we see that it was not a catch. I couldn't believe Bishop didn't get there. He was so close on that catch by Westbrook-Ikhine there.
I take bigger exception with other coaching decisions in the game than that.
Yeah, it
was close. It was close. They're gonna turn it over. I don't know.
Right. It's the least of my worries.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel had better weapons with the Titans. Vrabel can get his teams to play, though. That's an element here. Like Vrabel against McDermott and how that starts to play out over the course of the next few weeks. Like the Bills now, I was doing the math on trying to chase down New England. Because of their loss to Miami, the Bills will have to likely finish a full game ahead of New England in order to win the division because you got a loss to Miami. And unless they lose one in the division, that tiebreaker's theirs now, regardless of head-to-head.
Right.
So, I don't know. I don't know. I almost want to say I still don't even really believe the Bills are going to lose the division and not have a home playoff game to close out Highmark Stadium. But we got to really, really look at that possibility. Unless New England kind of chokes on something here, they would have to maybe have a bad loss in order for the Bills to have some wiggle room.
And they were on the hook the last 2 weeks, right? They had a bad turnover by Drake May against the Falcons, and then they missed the extra point. And then this past week, he had the red zone turnover when they needed the field goal would have been great there and gave them the opportunity the Tampa to come and take the lead, and then they couldn't do it. So they've overcome some of their hiccups lately, and now they got this Travion Henderson's going. They got an explosive runner now. We're gonna need them to trip up along the way, and I don't know if they're gonna do it.
No, I don't either.
Meanwhile, one positive note: Dion Dawkins is getting the key to the city. Did you guys see that?
Terrell Owens and Dion Dawkins.
Dion Dawkins is getting the key to the city in a ceremony. The mayor of Buffalo has announced that they're going to have a ceremony to give him the key to the city. Which, great. He's been an absolute a superstar. I mean, on the field, off the field, in the community, much more deserving of the key to the city than when T.O. signed and got it. I was there when they gave T.O. the key to the city. I was there. They had the ceremony at the back of the Albright Knox on the steps, and I went and watched them give the key to the city to T.O.
Dion deserves it. He's embraced the city of
100%.
Buffalo. He does so much in charitable situations for Buffalo in that area. Props to Dion. I mean, he's awesome, and he does great things for Western New York. I'm happy for him.
And he got the award for the Community Service Award this past week. He's been the Walter Payton Man of the Year. So very cool. I'm looking at the list right now of who's received the key to the city. Terrell Owens, Terry Pagula, and Rick Emmett and Gil Moore.
Okay.
Of Triumph Music back in 1981.
Oh, wow. Triumph.
Yeah, so to symbolize the city's appreciation for Triumph's music and loyalty Buffalo, Mayor James Griffin gave the key to Rick Emmett and Gil Moore. In exchange, the band gifted Mayor Griffin an official Allied Forces tour jacket. So there you go. It's a very exclusive list.
All right. Interesting.
Isn't Triumph Catch the Power of the Music in Me? Isn't that the song they sing?
Listen, I don't have a clue.
Yeah. I'll take your word for it.
I'm young, I'm wild, and I'm free. I think that's who that is.
Well, thanks everybody who tuned in. Again, we're here for post games. Most games we're going to be, streaming right after the game ends, and then bring you our midweek Thursday show. So by Thursday, who knows if Brian Daboll's on staff? I think we're all going to guess no.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean it's not going to get talked about, and it doesn't mean the pressure won't ratchet up each and every time the Bills go out looking like that. So rough one, a loss to Miami. They will regroup and play Tampa at the stadium, 1:00 Sunday. Forecast looking like 50s. Meanwhile, tonight, if you're listening live, Packers and Eagles, and it was pointed out to me, the Tush Push Bowl. Get ready for the Eagles to be the most obnoxious form of themselves that they've ever been. The Packers tried to get that banned, and the Eagles are here to tush push their way in from the 10. So it'll be a petty bowl, but whatever. I'm into it. Should be fun. That's tonight. All right. Without further ado, we're back Thursday to chat about Bills-Bucks. Hopefully we get some good injury news and, hang in there, Bills Mafia. Until then, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Much love. Go Bills.